A little bit about me. I didn't get particularly good GCSEs at school. I didn't do very well. I wasn't particularly academically bright. I studied acting here over at Argyle Street. I then moved into a YTS course where I started doing business administration and IT. Well, I've moved into a few other avenues. 2011 I started writing some business books, funnily enough, particularly on starting small businesses and also sales as well. Because sales isn't the daunting thing everyone thinks it is. If you put it on a pedestal, it will scare you to death, but it's not difficult. Fiction books and various other things, but also I've done bits of mentoring, helping the team at GlassBox here and a number of other companies that I've helped out, and it should be fun. I know a lot of business owners that I would say borderline don't really enjoy what they do. And yeah, ironically, if you want to be the boss, if you want to have your own company, you might actually enjoy it. You're going to spend a large proportion of your life working. So it makes more sense to try and enjoy it as much as you can and get the best out of it. Believe it or not, it's Mr. Average, it's people like me, it's the E-grade guy. There are very, very few amazing secrets in business. There really aren't, and a lot of the stuff that I've helped people that I mentor with, a lot of the things I've helped them with are largely common sense. And myself, I consider myself to be Mr. Average. There are a lot of things I'm bad at. Accounts, don't do it, I outsource that. And I did from the start. Writing proposals and tenders and stuff, my grammar is, again, back to the E grade, not particularly good. So I do lean on others. My wife's very, very good. She's very good at that sort of thing and checks anything urgent I've got to send out. But it's a case of, people that are successful in business and people that have companies with money in the bank account are not any different than any of you. They really, really aren't. And that is probably one of the biggest things that I've got to share with you is don't be frightened of trying things, don't be frightened of making mistakes. Smart people, ones that try and tackle everybody does. Things that are left over from the day before, there and then. And you know what, there are always jobs we get, whether you're the owner of a business, you work in a business as an employee or whatever you guys go on to do, there are going to be things in your working life you're going to really, really hate doing. But ironically, it's actually best usually to get them out of the way. If you've got to make an awkward call to a client, better do it early if you've messed something up, rather than wait and then start getting really hacked off. Because the difficulty of the call you'll make, which on Wikipedia say, an entrepreneur is an enterprising individual who builds capital through risk and/or initiative. Well, the important bit there, enterprising. You want to start a business, you want to start an enterprise, you've got an idea, you've got something you want to try and monetize to be your profession, to pay your bills and give you the standard of living you want. But also builds capital through risk and initiative. The or I don't think is really applicable, because I think whatever you do, there is risk in business. Alone and stressed guy, what is an entrepreneur? Well, quite often it can be you. It could be someone trading out of their back bedroom. It could be someone that's trading out of a small industrial unit. You might be working with friends or relatives, or you might be on your, you might have a small team, or you could well be on your own. So, or you've got, someone here that's sitting there with someone, might be clients and stuff. Because running a business can be quite a lonely thing, especially if you're on your own. You might have another half that doesn't necessarily work in your industry sector and understand what you're doing. If you're an accountant, you run a small accountancy practice and stuff like that, and you're sitting up late because it's getting near year end, so you've got to get all your tax returns done for your clients, so you might have a manic couple of months, and a lot of people I know who are in the accountancy industry, there's certain periods of the year where they're very difficult to get hold of, and they're very stressed and very busy because they've got they've got a timeline that they can't move. Talking to people helps an awful lot. I'm here talking to you today, and as I say, because it can be so lonely, talking to people really, technology of Facebook, LinkedIn and all sorts of various other things like this, My Face or whatever it's called, there are so many other ways that we can stay in touch with people. But I've always found the best relationships I have are people that I've met, I've spent time with, they've seen me face to face, I've talked to them, I've listened to their gripes, their problems, and they've listened to a few of mine. Because if you think about your friends, you kind of have, a number of friends and you have acquaintances largely. Acquaintances, you talk to them on Facebook, happy birthday, how you doing, how's the kids and all that sort of stuff. But the friends are the people you see out at work, the people, and you can kind of have clients, you'll have occasional clients, occasional users of your business, And you'll have clients, you'll have clients that you talk to regularly, and you've got an opportunity to build a good rapport with them. I've got a very good client of mine over in Dubai, and I go over and see them, because ironically, yes, it's a nice jolly for me, but they get to see me and spend time with me, so they actually know that I give a damn about it. It's pretty much ups and downs. When you run a business, you will have good moments. You'll have moments of, yes, we've done it, awesome, we've got some money in, it's a big order and stuff like that. But you'll also have moments of, how the hell did we lose that? Why didn't we get that? And you know what? Some bits of business from a sales point of view, you just can't fix. There will be times that you will lose out. But what you've got to try and do is stack the deck as much as possible in your face. Talking about it 6 months later, we've got this massive deal and all the rest of it. But when you're running a small business, excuse me, you don't have that long to sit and gloat about it and feel how fantastic you are, because every month you will have costs that will keep going. You get 20 grand's worth of business in, of profit, gross profit, and then you've got 5 grand a month of outgoings, staff paying you, paying staff, paying rent, bills, tax, all the rest of it. Before you realise it, 4 months has gone, So, and that's assuming you don't buy anything new. That's just your costs to keep trading. So whatever you get in, you can't spend too long resting on your laurels, but do enjoy the good moments, because they went to a few business networking meetings, actually just before I launched my recruitment business. And it was a chance to meet and see other people and see how this networking malarkey worked, and whether they're all weirdos or whether they're all sensible people. And ironically, business owners, we have just the same problems as you. Can't say the dog or whatever. We have exactly the same issues that you will all have. And, life sometimes gets in the way and stuff like that, but it's important not to put people up on a pedestal and think necessarily they're any better than you. It's about having belief in yourself and having the drive to see things through. So, as I understand this, I've tried to launch a student initiative, and they're doing that at the moment. And getting out and about and talking to people in business is going to be probably some of the most valuable time that you will get at this early stage. But endurance is a really important thing in business. This, for me, is probably one of the most important things, because when you start a company, or you talk to people, and I meet numerous people that have launched business in that, and they come see me and they're absolutely bursting at the seams with excitement about their business. They literally would talk behind legs off a donkey about how fantastic their new widget is, or their business, or whatever they do. But endurance is a really important thing. And endurance is a broad category, and these are all quite broad categories, because what you want to be able to do is, when you've got a business that's been trading for about 3 months, don't start going and buying private number plates for your cars. I've known people who've done that, and you've got the money for it. It's an extravagance you don't need. Limit your costs. Don't go out there and buy some outstandingly, ridiculously spec PC. So endurance comes through costing, comes through strategy and planning as well. So when you get a problem, and you will, and being honest, there is not a business on this planet that doesn't have problems. Every business will have problems. And when you think you've got rid of it, it might come back. It's like a spot. But also, when you get rid of it, you might find another one turns up, or that the way you fixed it has knocked onto another problem. And it will always happen, and you're not going to get rid of it, so you just have to accept there will be problems with a business when you start it. It's about how you deal with them and what opportunities you give yourself to get through things. Now, starting with a business that's nothing, you've got a hand. And then you start building something, you get your enterprise going, you've got a little seedling like we've got here, and eventually it turns into a tree. But it sounds such a simple analogy, but ironically it's true. The people that I know and that I respect and that I consider very, very good in business are exceptionally good at focusing on what they're doing and prioritising. And I remember being an employee for a very, very commercially sharp recruitment consultancy. I won't name them, but my old boss used to come over to me and he'd say, "What are you doing that?" And I'd say, "Well, and he'd say, "Is that going to make you any money?" "No." "Then why are you doing it?" "Forget it. You need to get some money in. So don't bother doing," and so many times people forget in business doing the things that A, made them successful to start with, and B, he's going to put some money in the bank. because without money, your business will fail. Accountants, a lot of people will tell you, cash flow is what kills businesses. I have a slightly different viewpoint on it, because if you've got a load of work out on invoice, you can do a thing called factoring, so you sell that invoice to another. Premises, it's looking at keeping an eye on your costs, because that's where a lot of people in setup will get carried away. You know, they'll get a bit spend happy with the money they've got. I mean, when I started my business, we borrowed 30 grand from the bank. You know, I'm quite happy to say that we borrowed 30 grand from the bank because we were looking at buying another company. We then didn't. But we set things up and we paid the finance off very, very early, and half the time what we set out to do. But it's easy to do. It's easy to do, and you know, the last bit is launch. You need to adapt. Are you going to, you know, do a launch party? What sort of PR are you going to? This is your competition. It's me at 16 with a lovely mother. We're not any different than you. We're not thriving. Come and talk to us.